right, welcome to the Pennsylvania Friends of Agriculture science lesson. My name is Paula Shupp, and I am the Ag Lab coordinator for the Pennsylvania Friends of Agriculture Foundation. So you might know us. We may have come to visit your school. We run the Mobile Ag Science Program. So we have that big trailer, if you were lucky enough to have us come to your school, that big trailer that comes and it parks in your parking lot, and you guys get to come out onto the lab and do really fun agriculture science experiments with us. And we run these experiments for students that are in kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade. So hopefully we've been to your school, and if we haven't been to your school, hopefully in the future we can have that opportunity to get there and share some of our fun hands-on experiments with you. Now, like I said, I'm from the Pennsylvania Friends of Agriculture Foundation, and there's that word agriculture in there. So do you know what agriculture is, what it means? Well, agriculture is just simply pretty much a big fancy word for farming. So think about farming. What do you know, and what words or what kind of things do you think about when you think about farming? So I think about the animals that are on the farm. I think about the crops that are grown on the farm. I think about the clothes, like my sweater came from materials that were grown on a farm. You could think about the tractors that are taking care of planting the crops and harvesting the crops, the farmer. So it's everything from start to finish that's involved in farming. That's what agriculture is. So we are going to do a lesson today that's going to help us understand even more how important agriculture is to us in our everyday life. Now, like I mentioned, we think about foods, and we also think about drinks, beverages, when we think about farming. And think about, what kind of drinks do you like to drink? There's healthy drinks and unhealthy. And when I think about unhealthy drinks or beverages, I think about sodas and juices that are really high in sugar, that aren't 100% fruit juice. A lot of sports drinks, while they can be healthy for you if you're really dehydrated, if you drink them all the time, they have lots of sugar in them, so that can sometimes be unhealthy for you. If you think about the healthy beverages that you drink, you think about water, very important for your body. 100% fruit juices are healthy, and milk. Okay, so I have milk in front of me. We are going to do an experiment today talking about milk. Now, why is milk important to us? What's in milk that is so important to our bodies to keep us healthy? Well, milk has lots of vitamins and minerals. Okay, they're nutrients, proteins and fats. There's even fats in milk, and it's all important to keeping us healthy. If we think about the nutrients, the vitamins in milk, what's in milk that really, really keeps your body strong and healthy? Calcium, okay? So calcium is what makes our bones strong. It's what's important for us to drink the whole way through our lives. And I mentioned that there's fat that's important too. Now there's fats in some of the milks, and there's different percentages of fat in different types of milk. So milk is really important. The fat in milk is really important, especially to younger children. It's really important to help develop their brains in little tiny babies. After they're done with their formula, they drink whole milk so that their brains develop. And then as you get older, you want to kind of, well, some people do, you don't have to, but you could then start drinking milks without as much fat. But it is important to us in a certain content. So we have these milks here. When you go to the grocery store, there's all kinds of different milk that you see. You see whole milk, which I have here. You see 2% milk. There's 1% milk, which I have here. There's skim milk. You might see chocolate milk. You might see strawberry milk. Sometimes at St. Patrick's Day, you even see green milk. So there's all kinds of different milk out there. Now, I said there's chocolate milk. do you think chocolate milk comes from a chocolate cow? Because there's lots of different colored cows out there, so does that mean chocolate milk only comes from a brown cow? The answer is no. All milk when it comes out is white, just like my milk's here, and that chocolate is just added for the flavor, and the strawberry flavor is added. Or your cookies and cream flavor that you might have at your school lunch, that flavor is added to your milk, but it's always going to be white when it's coming out of the cow. Now, it's coming out of a dairy cow, which is also important to know. You're going to get milk out of a dairy cow. All right, so milk is a dairy product. Dairy products are in lots and lots of different foods. We think about ice cream. There is dairy in cheeses, in yogurts, okay? So you can get dairy in lots of different kind of food products, and you should always try to get at least 3 servings of dairy a day to keep your body healthy, keep those bones strong, because like I said, there's calcium that's really important for your bones, and if you don't have enough, then you might have really brittle bones when you get older. They might break easier. So those are some important facts about milk. Milk also is mostly water, okay? And then it's got those minerals, vitamins, nutrients, and then there's the fat droplets in it. So we are going to do an experiment using these 2 types of milk here. Now, remember when I said at the grocery store you see all kinds of different milk, and there's the whole milk and the 2%, the 1%, and fat-free milk. So those are all milk products. Milk comes from a mammal, so we have to remember that, because there's other products out there that like soy milk or almond milk, but they're not really milk, okay? That's just, by definition, they're not milk, okay? It has to come from a mammal, and a mammal is an animal, right? So we are going to start off with things that you have at your home already, and you're going to need 2 different kinds of milk, so hopefully maybe you have 2 different kinds in your refrigerator. Right now I have whole milk here, and I have 1% milk, so you could either use, you definitely want to use the whole milk, and then either a 1% or a skim milk, okay, for this experiment. You're going to need some dish soap. Now I have Dawn dish soap. If you don't have Dawn dish soap at home, you don't need to run out to the store and buy Dawn dish soap. You can use what you have. I have 2 Q-tips. You're going to need 2 Q-tips. I have a 1 cup measuring cup, which everybody should have, okay? And I have 2 blue bowls in front of me. Now, you can use cereal bowls. These are plastic bowls, and they're blue. If you don't have a bowl that is colored, that's fine, but if you do, you might be able to see a little bit better the outcome of the experiment. Then I have 4 different colors here of food coloring, which you just find in your cabinet. We have here McCormick's. There's all kinds of different food coloring that you could have at home. And if you don't have these colors, I know there's the neon colors out there. You can certainly use those. You just want to try to have 4 different colors. And I have just a little cup that I put my dish soap in, so that it's going to be easier for me to manage my dish soap. So maybe you have a little Dixie cup at home, or just like a tiny juice cup or something that you can squeeze a little bit of your dish soap into. Now, we're going to start with our whole milk. So I mentioned that we run the Mobile Ag Science program, and we always follow the scientific method, okay, when we're on the lab. And I'm sure you've heard of it at school and in your science classes with your experiments. You also follow that, especially about 3rd grade is when you start to get introduced a little bit to the scientific method and the terminology. So the first step is always a problem. What's the problem? So our problem is, it's what do you want to find out, the purpose or the problem? So we want to find out which one of these 2 milks has more fat in it, okay? And so we're going to find out which 2 of these milks has more fat in it. Now, the next step that you would do typically is some research. Well, we're not going to do any research right now, but if you were in school, you would probably do a little bit of research because the next thing you want to do is form your hypothesis, okay? And that is your educated guess, and it's based on what you already know. So what do you already know about milk? Okay, that's how you're going to make your educated guess. And you don't have to ask anybody at home, and if you're at school, you don't have to ask your neighbor or your partner what they think, because it doesn't matter. It's what you think, and that's the really cool thing about a hypothesis, is that it belongs solely to you, and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, because you're going to do your experiment. And from that experiment, you're going to find out if you were right or wrong. And it's okay if you were wrong, because you learned something. And you're going to repeat your experiment several times. You can't just do an experiment one time. You have to do it more than once, because you have to know if your data is accurate. Okay, you want to get repeatable data that you can back up. So we're going to start with, we're going to get our milk ready, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about our hypothesis. So I don't want to start with that one. I'm going to start with my 1% milk first. Okay, so I'm going to pour 1 cup of the 1% milk into my bowl number 1. And I forgot to mention that you want to have a paper towel or something with you, because you're going to want to wipe out your measuring cup. That would be called a variable that would change your results if you left milk from milk 1 in your cup that's going to mix with your second milk. You want this to be clean. Okay? So then you're going to take your second milk, your whole milk, and you're going to do the same thing, and you're going to measure, okay, another cup, and I'm going to bring it around here so I don't accidentally spill into my 1% milk. Okay. And then we're going to put that aside, and make sure you put your lids back on your milk, because you don't want to spill the milk. Then you might get in trouble at home, right? So we have 2 different milks. You're going to put them in your bowls, let them settle, okay? So we're just going to let them settle here, and we're going to think about our hypothesis. So which one of these 2 milks do we think is going to have the most fat in it, okay? So make your observations. What do you see in your bowls? Is one lighter in color? Does one look creamier? Does one look more watery? So you want to kind of make your observations. Don't bump your bowls. We're going to just kind of let them sit and settle before we get started with our experiment. Now, a couple things to tell you about milk. Once the cow is milked, it goes through some processes before it actually hits these bottles in your store. So a few things that they do are they go through, there's a clarification process. So that's going to take any kind of impurities out of the milk. There's also pasteurization. So that's going to take any possible bacteria that could potentially be in the milk coming out of the cow, that's the raw milk coming out. Any kind of possible bacteria, that will get rid of that. Then there's the homogenization. Now I mentioned the fats in the milk. So there's those tiny droplets of fat, so they can take that fat out of the milk, and then depending on how much fat they want in the milk, they can put that back in. So that's the homogenization process. They're going to add those fats back into the milk. And then there is the fortification process, which is going to add vitamins into the milk, like vitamins A and vitamin D. If you ever heard of fortified with vitamin A or D, that's what that means. It's added into the milk. So I don't know what you think about your milk, which one you think has the most fat. what was your hypothesis? Okay, so when you form your hypothesis, you say, I think milk 1 has more fat because, you always have to have a because. You can't just end by saying, I think milk 1 has more fat because it looks like it's a little brighter in color. Well, why? Why is it brighter in color? Why do you think that? You have to have a reason. Okay, so you definitely want to have your whole milk and either a 1% or a skim milk for this experiment. So we're using the 1% and the whole milk. So I'm going to put these back in order. We did the 1% milk first. So now you're going to take your Q-tip, take 1 Q-tip. Well, I guess we have to do this step first. Okay, so now we're going to start our experiment. So you're going to use 1 drop, just 1 drop of each of the 4 different food colorings. Now, if you are missing, okay, I'm going to start with yellow. If you're missing yellow, that's fine. You don't need it. Start with one of the other colors, and it's perfectly fine. You can use one of the other colors twice, okay? Now, we have our milk in a bowl. A bowl is a circle, right? But we want to make a square. So how do you make a square out of a circle? Well, we're going to make an imaginary square inside our bowl with our food coloring. So I'm going to start with just 1 drop of the yellow. And just be real careful. You don't want to bump your milk. You don't want it, because we just spent time to get it to settle. So you want it to be nice and calm. And then you're going to put a drop of green, and then I'm doing this yellow, green, and then I'm going to do blue, and I'm going to do red. You can certainly choose whatever pattern that you like. So now I have 4 different colors of food coloring in my bowl. Okay, now I'm going to take my Q-tip. I'm going to take my little cup of dish soap, and I'm going to dip my Q-tip in. Make sure it's got the soap on it. Pull it up just a little bit so that the excess drips off of it, okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to gently put the Q-tip in the middle of your bowl of milk and just hold it there. Don't stir it, okay? If you stir it, that's going to mess up your results of your experiments. Okay, so I'm going to dip that again. And I'm going to put my dish soap in. Now, my colors kind of ran away. They all ran away to the side, and they're not really doing a whole lot. And the longer I wait, I see them kind of moving around a little bit. The first thing they did was they all kind of ran away to the sides, to the outside, the rim of the bowl. And now the longer that I hold this in here, they are starting to move around. I see them moving a little closer to my Q-tip. Okay, so you're just going to hold that there for about 15 seconds. You can just count really slowly to 15. Okay, I think we've been about 15 seconds. So I'm going to gently pull my Q-tip out. Don't stir, okay? And just put it in front of your bowl. Now you're going to take your, okay, so now we're going to do the same thing with our second milk, okay, which was our whole milk. Now we're going to put the colors in just 1 drop. So I started with yellow. Remember, we're making a square inside of our circle. Sounds kind of strange, huh? Square inside of a circle. And you want to space them out. You don't want your colors to touch each other. Just one little gentle squirt. You don't want to really squeeze hard on those food colorings. Now, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take your Q-tip and you're going to put it in your dish soap just like this. Okay, make sure you get it on there. And again, we're going to put in the center of the milk, okay? And we're not stirring. Do not stir. Now, I wonder if we'll have a different reaction because it's a different kind of milk. What do you think? Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put this in. Oh, there it did. It scurried away. It went away. And now there's all kinds of activity with my colors. We're just going to wait again for about 15 seconds. Okay, I'm going to gently pull that back out. Now we're going to do this a second time and see if there's any different, if anything more happens with that food coloring that's in our bowls. Okay, so I'm just going to use the same Q-tip and I can use the opposite side that's clean. Okay, so right now I'm noticing in this bowl with my 1% milk that the colors are kind of, there's almost like a triangle shape of each of the colors. Okay, starting from the center and pushing the whole way out to the ends. Now I'm dipping that back in for a second time. I don't really see a whole bunch happening. I don't know. Do you see anything happening at your house? Again, we're going to count to about 15. I'm at about 7 in my head. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Gently pull it out. Don't stir. What do you think would happen if you stirred it? What do you think it would look like? What happens when you make a bunch of different colors together? They kind of turn brown and yucky, don't they? So now we're going to do this the second time with our whole milk. Now, my bowl is, it's kind of more spread out. The colors are kind of more spread out, okay, in my second bowl here. I'm going to see what happens. Okay, and again, just really gentle in the center of your bowl. Okay, is anything happening with your milk? And don't stir. So mine's moving around a little bit. This one's moving around a little bit more than this one. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. So I think I can notice there was a lot more activity or action in my second bowl than there was in my first bowl. Okay. So if you think about the dish soap, okay, it's when you do dishes, if you help do dishes at home, and let's say you have bacon. That's a good example. Let's say you made bacon for breakfast, and what's left in the pan when you're done cooking the bacon? All kinds of bacon fat, right? Grease and fat. And what do? You let that harden up. It makes it a lot easier to clean the pan if you let the pan sit and let that fat kind of harden up. And then if you take, I don't know, a spatula or a paper towel or something and wipe that out into the trash can, you don't want to put it in your sink because then that could clog your drains and you don't want that to happen. So the bacon fat is still, you get rid of as much of it as you can, but it's still going to be greasy on that pan, right? And then if you use your dish soap, I don't know, Dawn there's a saying that was always said, Dawn gets grease out of its way, and what's grease? It's fat. So you notice when you put that dish soap into your greasy water, you can even see that the fat kind of running away. So the milk that you saw the most action, like when you are doing your dishes and you see the grease kind of run away when you put the dish soap on it, that's what happened with the second bowl here, the whole milk, because the whole milk has more fat in it. Okay, so that made, as soon as that dish soap hit, which has a degreaser in it, hit that milk, it made the fat kind of run away. So when we think about that, we go back and we think about our problem. What was our problem at the very beginning of this? Think about if you're in science class and you had that problem at the beginning. What's that last, very end step of the scientific method is a conclusion. What did you find out? What did you learn? So we learned that the whole milk had more fat because we noticed that the food coloring moved away from that dish soap a lot faster than it did with our 1% milk. So the whole milk has more fat than 1%. So if we were doing this as an experiment at school or something, we would not tell you which milk if it was whole milk or if it was 1% or fat-free milk. And if you use fat-free milk, you're going to see even less activity in your bowl than you did with the 1% milk. So if we did that at school, it would have been kind of a surprise, okay, and you would have been able to determine that this second bowl had the most fat. But how do you know if you go to the grocery store which one has more fat in it? So you can look at the back at the nutrition labels, okay, and that gives you all of your ingredients and all of your values. So this one tells me that there are 150 calories in the whole milk and the total fat is 8 grams. Okay, so it's telling me it has 8 grams, and above that it says percent daily value, and it'll give you the percent. So it tells me there's 10% of my daily value of fat in that serving of milk. So you can read your nutrition labels in the grocery store. You can see how many serving sizes are in any kind of container. This one has 4 servings per container, and it tells you that each serving is a cup. Okay, so it tells you how many calories. So it's got 150 calories. It tells you how much fat. It tells you your cholesterol, sodium, total carbohydrates, okay, and your proteins. Also gives you all your vitamins and minerals, your vitamin D, your calcium, your iron, potassium, and vitamin A. So this is where you can get all your information that you need to make a smart, informed decision about the product that you're buying, okay? And when we're looking at buying different products, things that we want to kind of be looking into are definitely the calories and your vitamins and the percent daily value of nutrients. So you want things that aren't quite as high in calories, and you want things that are have higher value of nutrients, okay? And that's the things that you can find here on the back, and you'll find these labels on any kind of food product that you're looking into, okay? Your fat content, your calories, your nutrient values. That'll give you all the information that you need. So I hope you had fun doing your lesson, and I hope that you do it again and see if you get the same results, and then you can compare them. You can make your own little lab sheet at home and kind of keep all your results recorded, and maybe do it a few different times, do it a few different days, see if that makes any difference in your results. So I'm glad you tuned in, and hopefully we'll see you maybe at your school someday.
Agriculture affects every part of our world, and even though it's Pennsylvania's leading industry, fewer and fewer families across the state have a direct connection to farming or know what agriculture looks like today. The Pennsylvania Friends of Agriculture Foundation believes awareness is critical to the future of farming. It works to highlight the role agriculture plays in our everyday lives and how our food makes the journey from the farm to the dinner plate.
Quite simply, the mission of the Pennsylvania Friends of Agriculture Foundation is to raise public awareness to the importance of agriculture in their daily lives. We always are looking for opportunities, whether it is connecting with school children through programming offered through our Mobile Ag Science Lab program, or opportunities within the community where we have the chance to share the good story about agriculture.
A charitable organization supported by Pennsylvania Farm Bureau, the foundation was created in 1986. Today, its chairman is Rick Ebert, a Western Pennsylvania dairy farmer and Pennsylvania Farm Bureau president.
People today, are very inquisitive of where their food comes from. And as farmers, we want to make sure that we provide good information out there and make sure that they understand how their food is produced, where it comes from, so they can make wise choices as a consumer.
The Mobile Ag Ed Science Lab and Ag on the Go programs bring hands-on scientific learning directly to schools. Led by a certified teacher, students follow the scientific method and work collaboratively to solve a problem that showcases Pennsylvania agriculture.
Children actually learn better when they're doing, and they are definitely doing when they're in the lab. When we visit schools, children can look back and say, well, when we were in second grade, this is what we did here, and they remember the things that they did more than what they wrote on the paper, if we made lip balm, or remember when we put yeast in a test tube.
The Educator's Ag Institute prepares teachers to incorporate lessons about agriculture into their existing curriculum. This week-long crash course gives educators resources, ideas, and lessons to bring back to their students.
The lesson plan shows them what standards are taught within that lesson, and it doesn't just have to be science. It can be a lot of other standards that are covered by that, and we make that information available to the teachers and the schools so they realize that what we're teaching is what they are supposed to be teaching, and it all kind of crosses over, and they can use that as part of their school curriculum.
Held each year in March, the Ag Literacy Week campaign gives students a chance to meet a farmer in their community. Farmers visit classrooms to read a book and talk about agriculture.
We go into the schools and talk to these kids, and they are so excited about meeting a real farmer, getting their perspective that, farmers is somebody in their local community. And that relationship, is awesome because we plant that seed of who we actually are.
You can learn more about the foundation and its programs at pafbfriends.org.